Welcome to this explainer. Stick with me for the next 5 minutes because what we're about to cover could literally make or break your career trajectory. Right now, there's a hidden trap that millions of professionals are just quietly falling into. We're pulling some amazing insights today from an analysis by Dr. Theron Kamarthanakaran, and the core idea is wild. The biggest career risk in the AI era? It isn't a lack of skills. It's actually relying on skills that are slowly, silently losing their relevance.
Think about how things used to be. The conventional wisdom was pretty simple, right? You get a degree, you earn a few certifications, and you build up this solid block of experience. A learned technical skill used to have a half-life of, well, about 10 years, meaning you learn something once and it comfortably pays the bills for an entire decade. But today, that reality is completely gone. Because technology is evolving at warp speed, that half-life is plummeting. Don't get me wrong, traditional degrees and static experience are still valuable, sure, but as a safety net, they just don't cut it anymore.
Which brings us to a kind of uncomfortable question. The old way of measuring success was simply asking, hey, what skills do you have? But honestly, that's just the wrong question today. The only question that actually matters now is, how often do you renew them? I want you to take a second and honestly ask yourself, how heavily are you relying on the exact same expertise you had, say, 3 years ago? And what does it actually take to survive this massive shift?
Well, to answer that, we have to look at the main culprit. Artificial intelligence has completely accelerated the clock on our careers. It's fundamentally changing the timeline of exactly how long a capability remains valuable in the open market.
Let's dive into exactly what's being impacted here. AI is ripping through software development, engineering design, data analysis, technical documentation, even customer engagement and day-to-day business operations. The sheer scale and breadth of this disruption is just staggering. Literally no industry is entirely safe from this acceleration.
Consider this reality. Tasks that once required hours and hours of deep, specialized expertise can now be knocked out in minutes with AI assistance. Minutes! So if your entire professional value is tied up in a workflow that an AI can suddenly do in a fraction of the time, well, that workflow is simply no longer secure.
Now, wait, hold on a second. I don't want you to misunderstand me here. This absolutely does not mean that human expertise is dead or somehow irrelevant. Far from it. What it means, and please, if you take away nothing else, remember this. Holding on to static expertise is a guaranteed path to obsolescence. Your expertise absolutely must evolve continuously. And that brings us to a massive shift in how we all need to operate. Welcome to the era of skill renewal. In this new reality, your career growth depends entirely on how fast you can pick up new capabilities while at the same exact time adapting the ones you already have. You simply cannot be defined by a fixed, static set of skills anymore.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, successful professionals are developing a sort of automatic habit loop. It goes like this: aggressively learning new capabilities, updating their existing knowledge, constantly experimenting with fresh tools, and ultimately, just reinventing their roles entirely. It's not some one-time weekend project. It's a constant, repeating cycle that replaces the old-school idea of just doing your job.
Getting there requires a massive mindset shift, and it really starts from when we're students. We have got to abandon that dangerous thought of, okay, I have completed my learning, like education is some finish line you cross, and then you're just done. Instead, we have to adopt the mindset of, I am continuously upgrading my learning. The future belongs to people who can constantly restart their learning journey from scratch.
And this changes the very responsibility of educators too. We can't just prepare students for a single, static job role anymore. That just doesn't make sense. The focus has to pivot to teaching adaptive traits. We're talking about learning agility, digital adaptability, pure curiosity, strong self-learning habits, and of course, deep AI literacy. Your future employability isn't about how much knowledge you've hoarded in your brain. It's about how well you adapt to new information.
All right, all of this analysis leads us to a really huge climax. We open this explainer by asking what it actually takes to survive when the shelf life of our skills is shrinking. Well, we are now looking at the single most valuable career skill of the future.
So let me ask you directly, what do you think it is? Is it coding? Is it deep data analytics? Maybe masterful communication? Or, I don't know, being a killer AI prompt engineer? It is so tempting to just pick one of those technical buzzwords, right? But it's actually none of those. The absolute most valuable capability you can have is continuous skill renewal. It's the lifelong habit of continuously learning and renewing yourself as technology, as industries, and as job roles just keep shifting beneath our feet. Ironically, the most valuable skill isn't a specific technical ability at all, because everything keeps changing. The people who keep learning are literally the only ones who are going to keep growing.
And this leads us to the ultimate security shift. Think about it. In the past, knowledge created security. If you knew how to do something really complex, you were safe. But today, adaptability creates security. Your future employability is entirely about your learning adaptability. Treating learning as a lifelong habit rather than some isolated event is literally your only true job security moving forward.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought from our source material. The future does not belong to the most experienced, it belongs to the most adaptable. I really want you to let that sink in for a moment. Are you relying on the cozy comfort of your past experience? Or are you actively building your capacity to adapt right now? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, your next learning journey starts today.